Today I want to go over the new heaven and earth with you. I know there's tons of renderings in it. I've scoured the internet and YouTube and everything, and it's funny how a lot of people don't really get into it that much. And I think they're kind of afraid to get too far into it because of what it's saying. When you ask someone what's the basis for your view, they'll always say, well, the Bible, of course, Jesus, of course. But that's not true because how could there be thousands of different views on one book? Obviously, at some point, they get it from church fathers or someone who wrote something that was interesting to them and it became part of their view or their religion. This has been going on for 2,000 years. So what you're going to hear is something that, as far as I can tell, internet-wise, you're never going to hear before. Now, what's the basis for what I'm saying? The language. That's my basis for everything, is the language. Because I don't know. And I don't think anyone else really knows. But the people that wrote these books know. So isn't it best to understand what they are saying? I know a lot of people will say that. I'm saying a lot of things that people just start to roll their eyes. But in this case, this is a strictly from the language based translation. Period. No religion, no theology, no nothing. Just the language, the words that they use, the meanings of those words, and how ancient writers of that time would write, their style. Obviously, language-wise, religion, what I've noticed is if something works in their favor, of course they're going to use it. And they'll harp on it over and over and over again. But if it doesn't, especially in other parts, they'll never talk about it. But the whole entire thing that I'm going to go over with you here is directly on the language, period. I've done a lot of research, spent a lot of time, and I'm going to give it to you exactly how John intended it to be understood. I'll give you some context here. We're starting in 20, we have the heaven and earth fled away, the old one. That is the old covenant. Okay, heaven and earth is the old covenant. It's not literal. We'll go over that in a second. I'll show you how. Then we have him who sat on the great white throne. That, of course, is God. A lot of people say it was Jesus. We won't get into it here, but it's God. I'll show you that later too. Then we have the judgment. Okay, that's all done. And John looks and he saw a dew. Now, a dew is perceiving with your eyes in this sense. It's not something you can actually see. If you look here, I saw no temple in it, right? 22. I saw no temple in it, for the Lord God, the Almighty, and the Lamb are its temple. So he saw that it wasn't there. And it's the same thing here. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and earth had passed away. We get that from 20. It fled at the sight of God. A lot of people will say, well, it was destroyed. It was not destroyed. The Greek word for fled is basically it vanished. It went away. No destruction. The first heaven and earth passed away, and there is no longer any sea. More than likely, along this type of basis, particularly, is the meaning of what this is saying. It continues on in verse 4, and that's what we'll get into. Is it states a lot of things, ancient writers. They'll state something, and then they'll build upon it, and they'll build upon it. This sea reference is further built upon in verse 4, which we'll get to. But right off the bat, no more sea. What does that mean? It states that the sea belonging to the former world, that's what they're calling it, associated earlier with the beast, the dead, and the judged creation, does not exist in the new heaven and new earth. Okay? 4 bondservants. You have to understand, the heaven and earth is basically like you work at a factory, you make cars. you get a new contract. You're doing the same job, got the same hours, but everything's different now. And it's better. But just for the workers, okay? For everyone else, it's something different. And it's the same thing here. If you look at the New Testament, of course, there are people that believe and don't believe. These are for people that believe, okay? It's for you. It's not for Hitler. It's not for some guy who just doesn't care about God or religion or anything else. They are human and they're contemporary to you on earth, but they're not interested, okay? You are interested. You are a believer. So this pertains to you as far as the realm associated with the chaos and death of the origin of evil powers that has been removed from this new creation for his bondservants. Okay? You have to understand that this is for you, and it's gonna open up even more in reference to where you stand in position on this earth compared to everyone else. Because this is about you, the believer. Everyone else they're just not part of the equation. The same message that's before you is before them. Some people believe it, some people don't. The ones that do, like you, this is who they're speaking to, because this system is on earth right now. It has been for 2,000 years. If you look at the word New Jerusalem, okay, this is what took over the old system. They had a temple, it was destroyed. This is the new system. It was put into place probably immediately right after. Again, he saw in verse 2, I saw the holy city. I perceived it with my eyes. New Jerusalem, not Jerusalem new, but a whole new creation coming down out of heaven from God. Okay, from God. Made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. That's very important. It's not the bride. That's Jerusalem. Made ready as a bride. Okay, it's dolled up. Cosmetics. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, This is God. From the throne, it's God. It's not saying God specifically here, but more than likely that's what they're talking about here in verse 2. Or verse 3, sorry. Behold, which means look, the dwelling place, the tent, the tabernacle, okay? The dwelling place of God is among men. Now, men is a masculine plural. Now, ladies, fear not, because this does apply to everyone. It's just how they spoke back then. It's kind of like naming your car a girl. You name it, the same thing. This is where it derives from. It's the masculine and non-masculine of these writings. So they'll use males, but it's more just general. That's just how they generalize things. So fear not. Now, when they say men, what they're really saying is anthropos, humans. The tabernacle of God is among humans, the dwelling place. So again, we have the same relationship. All men, all people on earth, Hitler, those people that don't believe, no. And this is what's called, I'll give you the term, apparative specification. Okay, that's the technical term for what's happening here in ancient writing. It happens a lot, even in John, the book of John and in the Gospels, where they address the whole crowd. But not everyone in the crowd can hear the message, right? Why do you speak to them in parables? Et cetera, et cetera. So, again, everyone can look at the New Testament. Everyone can believe or not believe. But amongst the ones that do believe, that's what is being referred to here. And you will see, again, it will continue to build upon what's being said here. So everyone is mistaken that everyone's going to be dead and there's only going to be good people. But if you look at John's use of the word anthropos is relegated to people on earth. That's it. They cannot be in heaven according to the confines of the way he uses the word, John. Doulos, slaves, or more affectionately known as bondservants, okay? That's what you are. You're a bondservant of Christ. It's like joining the military, and you raise your right hand and you say, I swear I'll do this. And that's what you become when you do with God. You swear allegiance to him. So you become a bondservant. Bondservants are created on earth. So you become a bondservant on earth. And the word doulos, according to John, is used for people on earth and in heaven. Okay, they're in all aspects of what's being described in the book of Revelation. Anthropos are not. Do you understand? There's two groups here. You have the entire group of people on earth, and out of that group is you and other people like you. You can be on earth and you can be in heaven, but everyone else can only be on earth. They don't pass go. They don't go to heaven. Okay? Now in Greek, and he will dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be among them. Okay? I'm going to give you a rendering. This is not a direct translation. I want you to understand that. This is not a direct translation, but this is what is basically being said according to that rule I just gave you a little while ago, the imperative specification, because what he's saying, and those among them who are his people will have God with them. It's just a different way of looking at it. Just to kind of, it really helped me understand what's happening here, because that's what he's saying. And those among them who are his people, among the anthropos, okay? You have the group, and then you have the people inside that group that he's referring to. But instead of spelling it out that way, which should be translated into English, but it's not a direct translation, but that is what they're saying here, because, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. That's their way of saying it in ancient Greek. And of course they keep it this way because it's convenient to their theology. Okay? So, and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Who? The people who are in the group of humans on earth. Not everybody. This is not universalism. Okay? You have to become a disciple of Christ. You just don't get it. Even when you were back 2,000 years ago, when the Jews existed in their old covenant parameters, just because you were born a Jew doesn't mean you were automatically saved. Obviously, right? If you look at what Jesus was saying was going to happen to them, nobody at any time in the history of this world has ever just been given salvation just because they were Jewish or male or female or a king or anything else. Everyone on an individual basis has to do this. Okay? And it's those individuals who he will dwell with. That will be his people. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Okay? Now, when we get into it, these words, the crying, it kind of seems... I remember the first time I read it, it's like, that's not possible on earth. Or could it be possible on earth? And again, the words that they chose to use, this is the NASB. This is the literal word app. It's good. And the NSB is fine. I mean, it's just as bad as any other one. But they still use selective words to turn your attention to what they're trying to convey to you. I'm not trying to do that. What I did up here with this, and those among them who are his people, that's exactly what they're doing. It's a distortion, is what it is. But if you saw it this way, and you understood the rules that are in play, it would help you to understand what's being said. Instead of just using words that distract you from what's going on and you miss the point. So that's why I did what I did, but I made sure to tell you that that's not what it says directly. That's not what, and those among them who are his people does not say that. But that's how it should be interpreted into English. because that's what's being said. Now here, when we have these words that seem impossible on earth, well, here we have mourning, crying, pain, etc. Well, the tears, going back a little bit more, tears mean grief or sorrow. We have that on earth. Death, physical death, separation from God, mourning, emotional or social grief, outcry, the crying, anguish or despair. These are other meanings to this word. Pain. I think toil is the best description, okay? It's just, you can't get anywhere in life. It's like an endless black hole. You can never, can never save any money. You can never get ahead. It's just pointless, right? It's just complete despair. All these words that's being used is what God, you, his servant, will be spared from. Imagine the tabernacle being a shield, like a big bubble around you. And God invites you in. When you're at a point where your relationship with him has gone so far where you're actually something now. You're no longer a human. Now you're a bondservant. And he can let you into his realm. It's like finally you've changed from inside out. Your perspective. You've repented. Now I can bring you into my realm. Before you weren't good enough. You had to shake off your earthly ways. But now that you've seen the difference, and then again, this is through prayer, through a personal relationship with God, just you and him, all on your own. And you change and you realize things and you're asking questions. It's like a child. What's that? What's that? What's that? When kids are like, what's this? That's how you are. Why is this? Why is that? And you change your mind. You repent. And you become something that can be led into his realm. You have this protective shield, this tabernacle around you. And you're in the world, but you're protected from, you're not a part of it anymore. Your view has changed. You've seen the light. This is what salvation is. This is the whole point of you being on earth, is to get to this point where you've shaken away your earthly ways and towards God and his ways. This is what you're interacting with. This is what's on earth. You don't go to a physical temple anymore. A church is unnecessary. It's not going to get you where you need to go. This is what you interact with, this system. That's invisible. You'll notice John, he can't describe it. Now, a lot of people say, the New Jerusalem and Jerusalem are the same. No. New Jerusalem, Jerusalem. I mean, that should, a smart person who's never been manipulated throughout the years by their, whatever system manipulated them, and they're thinking these are the same things, they're not the same thing. They're two different places, but they work together. You're on earth. So basically, you can think of the New Jerusalem as a consulate, okay? A consulate to heaven. It's not new because that's where God has always been, but now it's in position. It's come down. That's where you go when you die. But while you're on earth, you interact with this, the New Jerusalem. And a lot of people interact with it and they don't even know it. They think Jesus hasn't come yet. They're thinking all these things. They're thinking this comes down after everyone's destroyed. No. Look how John uses the word anthropos throughout. It's not possible. That's not what he's describing. This is here. It's been here 2,000 years. This is what you're working with. This is what gives you the ability to experience the relief. And it says it right here. No more crying, no more pain, no more toil. The first things have passed away. Again, the heaven and earth, the contract. This is available to you now as a disciple. And it's building upon that no more sea. This is salvation, relief from the world. But there is nothing saying bad things are not still happening on earth, because they are. The earth has continued on, but the system has changed. That's what Jesus came down to do. Amongst many other things, it's to enable the system to change, to die and to be sacrificed for the Jews so they can be let out of their old agreement and into this agreement. And just many, many other things. I mean, we could go on for that for hours. That's not the point. But again, the point is that that system changed. The heaven and earth at the sight of God on his throne fled away. And now we got a new one. And he who sits on the throne, again, God. And this is where it comes into realization that it is God talking. And he says, "Behold, I am making all things new." Now we're going to get into it a little bit more, but I want you to understand something right now. This is very, 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 very important. This is the most important part of everything. Jesus never wrote a book, right? John did. Matthew did. Paul wrote epistles based on it, right? This is John with pen and paper in hand, a book. It even says it. Listening to the direct words of God. This is God speaking right here, right now. It's being transcribed. And I don't think people understand that. They miss that. I did. This is God. This is not Jesus or the Lamb or whatever figure he is. This is the creator of everything. Everything. God, the God, our Father, saying, "Behold, I am making all things new." Okay? New. Again, we get into this, oh, the earth's going to get blown up. That's not true. That's made up. It's made up. And what this is, the Greek word that they're using has passed away, right? The old heaven and earth had passed away. It's no longer. I make all things new, okay, right here. Indicates that the first heaven and earth ceased in effect and were transformed, not destroyed. Again, life has continued on. It's just that the contract for his disciples has changed. And the Gentiles, if you call it, were actually given a contract. It's like, look, we're going to bring you in too. For the Jews, it's a better contract. And for you guys, you get to share in it. And everyone gets to be a part of it who wants to be. But nothing's changed. You still have evil. You still have all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people say, well, there's no more Satan in this story. Yeah. Try going to a court and say, why'd you kill that guy? Oh, the devil made me do it. Oh, okay. Well, is he gone now? Yeah. Oh, then you're free to go. Because if the devil made you do it, you didn't do it. Try that defense. It's not going to work. People are evil, all on their own. They don't need Satan. That's where it originates from, but that's because they partake in it. If you partake in God, it's the opposite. But the things have transformed, showing that God renews existing creation rather than annihilating it. The structure, "I will make all things new," points to God transforming the existing creation rather than destroying it and starting over. And that's what's happened here. When you look back, it fled away. It left, and a new one took its place. A new heaven and earth. New Jerusalem. Do you see what I'm saying? These are new creations to our existence. They didn't exist before. Jerusalem, right there, already existed. That's why it's not New Jerusalem. And this is the same thing. Here's some linguistic conclusions. The Greek supports a renewal of the old heaven and earth, not a literal destruction. I kind of disagree with that. I'd say more it's a renewal of the place that you occupy. One's gone, another one's in. But you still do the same job. You still have the same job, same hours. Everything's the same, but it's better. Nothing's been destroyed. It just carries on under a new covenant. And he said, "Write, for these words are faithful and true." Then he said to me, God said to me, John, "It is done." I'm going to make this a little bigger. "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." You have to understand how powerful those words are. This is not Jesus. If you look at it, it's not Jesus. This is God, the God. And he's saying, it is done. Now, here's the thing. What's done here? This hasn't even begun yet. But this here, he's claiming has been done. What's been done? The new system that's in place. Boom, there you go. There's your new temple. It's among you now. This is what I've been promising. All you people. And I'm going to bring the Gentiles in too. It is done. Again with the language. Oops. Gigonon. Oops. Gigonon. The perfect tense indicates a completed state resulting from completed events. They have come to pass, etc., etc., etc. It is done. You don't declare it's done before it even gets started. This is done on earth. This is God speaking directly to John, to you. Do you understand? People don't realize that God is actually speaking in Revelation. Revelation actually has the most authority of really any other book in the entire Bible. In the Old Testament, they have quotes of God, but here we have, again, quote of God. In the beginning, most people didn't even think Revelation was authoritative. It was too weird, apparently, according to what's quoted. I'm quoting someone else. But this is God saying, look, it's done. That's very important. And what is God saying? He's further reiterating. Now, if this already happened and everyone was destroyed in the judgment, what sense would it make where someone would thirst for the spring of water of life? You're already in. You already did. It's already completed, right? A lot of people will say, oh, well, this is referring to John's time. It's going back because this hasn't happened yet in John's time. That does not work linguistically. It does not work. It's here. It's building up just like everything else, sequentially. You can't just take it out and say, well, this means something else in John's time. Especially with this, because I will give to the one who thirsts from the spring of the water of life without cost. Again, masculine. He who overcomes will inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. This is an adoption process. If you look at Paul's letter, they talk about adoption, but this is the only time, linguistically speaking, that they actually talk about adoption as a completed event. Because in Paul's time, the new Jerusalem had not come down yet. The temple had to be destroyed first, apparently. I'm drawing a conclusion there, because I don't exactly know when it happened, but it did happen around that time. One was out, one was in. This is what you got. But if you look at his use of the word adoption, according to the language, it's not completed. It's going to happen. It's building up, right? You know how people use that word, but it has not been done. Here, it is done. I will be his God, and he will be my son. And son is, I want you to pay attention, singular. Okay? It's masculine, but it's singular on an individual basis, not as a group at church, not, the Pope sprayed us with holy water when he came to our country and we're all saved. No. On an individual basis, depending on that person. If you look at 22:10, he's talking about how the time is near. This is the same letter. This is 22. If you go to 11, let the one who does wrong still do wrong, and the one who is filthy still be filthy. Okay? For the time is near. Let the one who is righteous still practice righteousness, and the one who is holy keep himself holy. Behold, I am coming quickly. When they say I'm coming quickly, that means it's going to happen really, really soon. Okay? Really, really soon. It's actually in process right now. It's not when it happens, it's going to happen quickly. It's going to happen. It's imminent. So for this to be something, an expression for John's time, it would be brand new. All of a sudden it would just change. Which I'm not saying couldn't happen. And you can wiggle it out. The problem is that it just doesn't make any sense. Before this event, the New Jerusalem, happens, it doesn't make a literary sense. It doesn't even really make sense when you look at it, because what's the point of thirsting for the spring of water of life between John's time and when this is supposed to happen? Because it just said, don't even bother. It's so close, don't even bother evangelizing anymore. But you good people, stay good. Don't go say, hey, tomorrow's the last day. Let's go out and, get in trouble. No. Stay righteous, because it's so close. But it's not an excuse to be bad. And to be honest with you, if you were a disciple, you wouldn't want to be. It wouldn't attract you. But this is so close that this is not talking about John's present time looking forward. This is talking about what will happen. I will be his God, and he will be my son once this happens. Okay? Then we have the opposite of it. But for the cowardly and unbelieving and abominable and murderous and immoral persons and sorcerers and idolaters and liars, their part will be in the lake of fire that burns with brimstone, which is the second death. This is proof that even today, right now, you're going to go to the lake of fire. Either you're in this group or you're in that group, right? And this happens after. And it's still enforced today. This is the system. Revelation 21, 1 through 9. 1 through 8. This is the system that's in place right now. And this is what it means. This is what you interact with. This is what brings you salvation. It's all around you. There's the New Jerusalem, there's the new heaven and earth, there's the kingdom of God. They're so close together, it's hard to discern which one is which. But they're all new elements of the new covenant that are in place. And that's what it means. And that's what you have to do to interact with it. You have to thirst for the water. You have to go to God and say, I do believe in you. I pledge allegiance to you. What do I do? Just tell me. What do I do? Where do I start? Where do I begin? And you just keep saying that. And you'll see. And this is what will happen to you. You will become adopted. This is an adoption process. Right here. He will be my son. That is an adoption process. A grafting on to the tree of Israel, however you want to term it. But this is an adoption. You become his. And for everyone else, something else happens. This is not the first time this is possible, because people think you have the judgment and then there's no more bad people. Well, not according to this, because this is one of three that shows for a fact that the New Jerusalem and life goes on earth at the same time. That Jerusalem, I'll call it Jerusalem proper, not the city that was destroyed, this one in 2110, is a place you go to after you pass away. Your name is written in the book of life here on earth, or it's not. And this is how you progress onto this. But if you look at things like the kings of the earth will bring their glory into it. Everyone says Jerusalem's supposed to come to earth, right? Or is it supposed to be floating right above earth and you're on earth? And, that doesn't make any sense at all. But it's working together like a consulate, like a sovereign country and a consulate. And the kings of the earth, I won't get into, but these are the leaders, and they're bringing their glory into it. Okay? The light shines from God. So the light is upon the earth now. Just like Jesus, I am the light. It's the same thing. And the Lamb, God has illuminated, and the lamp is the Lamb. Do you remember Jesus making those statements? I am the light of the world. He talks about darkness. The gates will never be closed. This is happening now. It's not really an interchange. It's a one-way exchange. Not exchange. It's a one-way. I forget how to term it, but it's happening on earth. It's the same thing here. I even asked barter. I mean, even they can't answer it. No one can. Revelation 22:15. Outside, exo. Outside are the dogs and sorcerers. Everyone say, well, exo means out. That just means they're not going to be able to go in. That's not true. Because everyone will tell you who understands Greek language will say, no. There's an inside the city, and this is outside this. Enter the gates into the city. Because people will try to put this back into John's time. Oh, this is referring to the time of John. This is future. No. This is at the exact same time after it's come down out of heaven. Outside are the dogs and sorcerers and moral persons and murderers and idolaters. The same thing, who loves practicing and lying. It's proof in three places that these things, right now, right this very second, for 2,000 years almost, have been happening on earth, in heaven. Just like when Jesus said to Peter, what is loosed on earth will be loosed in heaven, what is bound on earth will be bound in heaven. God is here in a sense that he's available now. The Jews were able, after Jesus' death, be able to progress. But it still wasn't the actual thing, the Jerusalem that was in place, that came into place here. And I know that's a little bit more confusing because you've heard it so many different ways. But you have to understand what they're saying. Linguistically, doesn't make any sense. It's gibberish, really. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Because it doesn't even make any sense. But this is what makes sense. That this place is on earth, and it works in conjunction with where God is, Jerusalem. And there, and his bondservants will serve him. They will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads. If they're the same place, why would you need a tabernacle? What would be the point? A lot of people say, oh, it's building up and it's doing it doesn't describe anything like that. When this happens, it's done. It happens. All of it. Not part of it, all of it. Everything. I know this may be strange to you, but all this stuff happened according to the language, according to the words used and the meanings of the words, and not just inside the New Testament. I've had artificial intelligence I've been studying, and I've been having proofread when I'm proof check my facts and everything. And I had to analyze every single writing that they could find outside of the New Testament, contemporary to the New Testament, contemporary to the Septuagint as well, and all writings in Greek, going all the way back to the Archaic area, as far back as you can. What does this word mean outside of the New Testament? What does it mean inside the New Testament? Because that can be different things. But there's almost like a chain of custody for these words. How people use it, which way and what they use it. And the New Testament does use words in different ways. Slightly different meanings, right? But I've had to analyze all this against itself and against everything else. This is what it's saying. And that's what I go by. I don't make my own decisions. I'm here to listen to God. He's speaking. He is speaking to you right here. I am the Alpha and Omega. He's speaking to us directly. These are his words right here. And I want to understand what he's saying. And what people are saying he's saying is not even close to being right. In most cases, it's the exact opposite of what God is saying. I don't know why people aren't more careful about this. I am actually scared to say the wrong thing. When I make these videos, I just don't make them. There's like 2-3 years of work, checking and looking, and thank God for AI, because it comes in and it analyzes everything I've been doing by hand, just to make sure I'm right or am I wrong. Everything that I've found, the people I've consulted with that speak Greek, I haven't really consulted them in all these areas specifically, because the focus was somewhere else. But it was in relation to this. But artificial intelligence can do the same thing. And I program it to give me what it means based on the language. The words, the meanings of those words, the context, the word usage in the New Testament, what's the word usage outside of the New Testament, etc., etc., etc. No theology, no opinions, no religious sources, nothing. The language, the words, the meaning of those words, and all put together. And this is what it means. It is saying that this is here, now. It's not visible. You interact with it. And this is how you this is what you interact with in gaining salvation. This is the system right here. If you have any specific questions on the language or anything, I could share you these notes. Just feel free to ask.